yesterday. But what we saw yesterday was there were other brises that had different formulations of these avos. So we had Rav Oshia. He had a list of 13. He had the 4 of the Mishnah, 9 other ones. We had Rav Chia, who had 24. So we had 13 of Rav Oshia and another 11. And what the Gemara was doing at the end of yesterday's daf, and the reason, it's really one sugya, we kind of stopped right in the middle. But what the Gemara was doing yesterday was we said, okay, so the Tana of our Mishnah, why did you not include the ones that Rav Oshia included? And Rav Oshia, you included 13. Why did you not include the other 11? And just to be absolutely clear, the entire discussion is semantics. Nobody's going to say that one Tana says that you're not chayev for all the shomrim, or you're not chayev nezek tzar rikush and boshes. Everyone agrees. These are all psukim in the Torah. Everyone agrees to the halacha. It's just the semantics of why did this Tana list it this way and that Tana list it the other way. So the end of yesterday's daf was, why did Rav Oshia stop at 13? Why did he not include the other 11? And the general answer was, he's only talking about niskei mamon, and this other list includes things that are knas. And then the Gemara pushed back a little bit, and that's kind of where we are right now. So top of Hey Amid Aleph, right? One of the examples in Rav Chia's brisa was Edim Zomamin. So the Gemara says Edim Zomamin is Mamono who listening. So Rav Oshia, you said you're not including knas, but Edim Zomamin is not a knas, it's mamon. So why don't you include that? So just as an FY, why is Edim Zomamin mamon as opposed to knas? So the way Rashi explains is the definition of a knas is either you pay more than the person is entitled to. So I only damage worth 10, but I have to pay 50. That's a knas. Or if the Torah says the set amount is 50 by an ones, let's say, or by an eved, it's shloshim shkalim, whatever it is, that's a knas. But Edim Zomamin doesn't fit into either category, because apparently, even though, again, whatever you're paying is more than your damage. You didn't do any damage. But I guess whatever you tried to do, that's what you have to pay, no more, no less. And therefore, maybe, yeah. But the point is, it would be considered a knas, and therefore, Rav Oshia should write it. But the Gemara says, Savalak Rabbi Akiva, to Amar ein mishalman al piatzma. No, the Tana of Hoshia, he agreed to Rabbi Akiva that he says that Edim Zomamin is in fact a knas, and therefore, if they were to be modeh, very good. If they were to be modeh, then they wouldn't be chayav, and that is also like one of the qualities of a knas. So the Gemara, it's about to get a little confusing right now. So the Gemara says like this. We'll say maybe outside first, and then we'll just read the words. Yesterday, when the Gemara was going through this whole Shakla V'Tarya, it was asking on the Tana of our Mishnah. Why does the Tana of our Mishnah not include the additional 9 of Rav Hoshia? And especially according to Rav says that Maveh is Adam. So Rav said, I'll tell you why. Because our Tana said Adam, and Adam is Kol Mili Adam. So why do I need the other 9? I already said Adam. So the Gemara went to Rav Oshia and said, Rav Oshia, why did you have Adam, which is Maveh, and then the other 9? And the Gemara answered, because there's really 2 different types of Adam. There's an Adam that's Mazik Adam, and there's an Adam that's Mazik Shar. So the Mishnah was talking about Adam Da'azik property, Shar. The Brisa is Adam Da'azik Adam. That's the Nezek, Tzar, Rikush, and Boshes, and all the Shomer, whatever it was. And then the Gemara went on. So the Gemara said, okay, well, if that's the case, why not have 2 categories of Shar? Have a Shar Da'azik Shar and have a Shar Da'azik Adam. And the Gemara said that wouldn't make any sense, because Bishlam by Adam, there's different halachas if they damage, right? And well, Adam, there's the Chamisha Dvarim. A Shar, what does it make a difference? What it damages? A Shar damages an Adam, Shar damages a Shar. And what the Gemara is about to ask now is, but Lefi Rabbi Akiva, that's not the case. Rabbi Akiva has a halacha that when a Shar damages a Shar, you have the Tam for the first 3 gorings, and then it becomes a Shar Muad. But when a Shar Tam gores a person, you pay Nezek Shalim from the get-go. That's just Rabbi Akiva. And if that is Jesus Rabbi Akiva, so what the Gemara is about to say is, so then according to Rav Oshia, who holds like Rabbi Akiva, and that's why you don't have Edim Zomamin, because you hold it's a knas, so let's have 2 different types of shars. Have a shar da'azik shar, and have a shar da'azik adam. Let's just read it inside. Rabbi Akiva, listni trey gavni shar. Listni shar da'azik shar. Listni shar da'azik adam. How do I know they're different? It's none, because we have a Mishnah later on in this. Rabbi Akiva Omer, af tam shechava adam, even a shar tam that damages a person, mishalim, but most are nezek shalim. He from the get-go pays nezek shalim, not chasti nezek. So again, if Bishlam, if you weren't going like Rabbi Akiva, you would say, you're right. Why do I need 2 categories of shar? But if I'm going according like Rabbi Akiva, I should have 2 categories of shar. I should have a shar da'azik shar, and I should have a shar da'azik adam. But the Gemara says, Hatavre Rebbe Akiva Legziza, which I think is some sort of expression of like Rebbe Akiva broke his fist or something like that. The point is, he even kind of backed down from this position to Tanya, because we have a brisa that says, Rebbe Akiva Omer, Yachol Aftam, Shechava Ba'adam Mishalim Min Aliyah. Just like I say that when a tam damages a person, they pay nezek shalem. You might have also had a havamina that he pays not migufo but mina aliyah. And tam alomar ye aselo migufo mishalim but ina mishalim mina aliyah. So I think we saw this earlier in the Masechta already. But another quality of a shar tam is that what they pay is limited to the value of the ox doing the goring. That's what's known as paying migufo. Whereas other forms of nezek, if you damage $1,000, you pay $1,000. I don't care. The fact that
ox that did the damage,
it's the ox
that was damaged.
Well, the ox that was damaged, that's going to cap the liability of whatever the liability was, right? But let's say your shore, which is worth $1,000, damaged a prize shore worth $20,000. Your damage, it's chatzi nezek, so anyway, you're limited to 10,000, not the 20,000. But you're even further limited to the value of your ox.
So no more than
the shara mazik, no more than 1,000. That's the halacha.
Don't get any idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have some sort of jalopy and you hit some guy's fancy car, it would be this, according to this, it would be kind of a similar idea, right? Where your damage would be capped. So the point is, Rabbi Akiva he says that even short tam, when they damage a person, you don't pay chas nezek, you pay nezek shalim. But notwithstanding, Rabbi Akiva still says that you're still capped to the mikufo and not minaliyah. What's the point? The point is you very rarely end up paying nezek shalom because presumably people are more valuable than your shar, right? So even if you're paying nezek shalom, but if you're capped to the value of the shar, you're anyway going to be paying something like a chati nezek, and therefore the Rav Oshia said I don't need to say two different types of shars because the bottom line is it's always pretty much very similar. You're not ever actually paying nezek shalom. You're always going to be paying something less than that. Okay, moving along with the list. So again, the Gemara is going to be bothered with every single one of these examples from Rav Chia's brisa. Why did Rav Oshia not write it? So moving along the list, ha'ones, v'amafatev, v'moti shemra, these three things, dimamonohu listening, these are all categories of mammon. Why don't we write it? And again, you have to say, why are they mammon? Aren't these all examples of knas? And the answer is, you're right, there's clearly a knas element to these things, but there's also damage, right? When you're ma'ane someone or whatever it is, you also did damage. So why don't you list at least for the nezek part of it? But the Gemara says manavshach. What do you mean, right? Nezek. If you're saying the Tana should have written it because of the nezek shavo tanale, that is one of the categories is nezek. Tsar. If you owe her for the tsar tanale. Boshes tanale. Pagam on nezek, and the pagam that anyways is a form of nezek. So my yitzlach alamemer. So what's the only thing that's missing? The knatza, the kanselo kamari. He already said my list doesn't include knas. Moving along the list. Hametama, the Hametamea, the Hamanasech, the Monohu Lisni. These are another three categories. So Metama is a case where, let's say I'm a Kohen, and I've got a Truma, which is very valuable, and one of you folks come into my house and you're Metame my Truma, so that you damaged me, right? Metamea is the reverse. It's the Kohen coming into your house and putting some of his Truma into your chulin. Now you can't eat any of your chulin because it's all Metamea, right? So that's the Kohen messing up the Yisrael. And Menasech is someone messing up. Now we don't need coins anymore. Anyone messes up someone's wine by doing some sort of avodah zarah, and you've messed up the wine. So this is all clearly damaged. The mamono hu lisni. Why doesn't Rav Oshia include this in his brisa? Again, the Gemara says manavshach. Hezek she'eno nikr shmei hezek. This is all a category of nezek, which is it's considered low hezek she'eno nikr, meaning the produce doesn't look any different, whether it's truma, whether it's chulin, whether it's medamea. So if you hold that hezek she'eno nikr or tam, exactly, no one can tell the difference. So hezek she'eno nikr shmei hezek. If you're going to tell me that sort of damage is considered damage hatanale nezek, I mean nezek was one of the categories, and hezek she'eno nikr lo shmei hezek. And if you're going to tell me that hezek she'eno nikr is not considered damage, but yet you still have to pay, so why do you have to pay havalei knas? It must be that it's a knas. And it becomes a lo kamairi. And again, Rav Oshia is only dealing with niskei mamon, not knas.
He's also adam for something else.
Well, Rav Oshia has a list of
Right.
Oh, you're saying yeah. So
it's not really included in adam mazik. It could be any way that he makes it.
But Rav Oshia already had the 4 shomrim. He already had
Oh, yeah, the showman too.
Yeah. So the Gemara says, Lema kasaber Rav Chia, who did have all these things in his Mishnah and his Brisa, Lema kasaber Rav Chia that hezek she'eno nicker lo shmei hezek. Maybe you'll have to tell me that he holds hezek she'eno nicker is lo shmei hezek, shmei hezek, because if all it was hezek, hatan le nezek. He already has a category of nezek. From the fact that he has nezek and he also has these other three, it must be that he holds that hezek she'eno nicker is lo shmei hezek, exactly. But the Gemara says, no, it's not muchach that way, because maybe I'll tell you, but Ishmei Hezek, and still he wanted to include this, because Tana Hazeka to Minkara, but Tana Hazeka to Lo Minkara. He wanted to teach you two different categories, one of them which is recognizable, one of them is not recognizable. Tosfos speaks out, or really one of these short Tosfos over here, is that you didn't need three examples for this, right? You could have just had one, right? It's all the same thing. But he said this is kind of like a pairing. It's like sometimes you have like the Dalit Shomrim, they all just kind of come, so Matama, Metamea, Menasech. It's just throughout the Gemara, it's just kind of
just like when we say perish something.
exactly. Sometimes you just kind of throw them in, right? In fact, in yesterday's daf, very often the Gemara was talking about Shomer Chinim and Shoel, and Rashi pointed out like Shoel doesn't even make sense over here. It's really Shomer Chinim. But either way, sometimes again they just kind of throw them in together. So Bishlam Alatana di Dan Tana Minyana Lemute Durab Oshia. So very often when the Mishnah says Arba Avos, so the Arba, there's significance that we said four is to exclude other ones. So our Tana said 4 to exclude the additional 9 of Rav Oshia. Rav Oshia Tana Minyana Lemute Durab Chia. Rav Oshia had his 13 to exclude the additional 11 of Rav Chia. Ela Minyana Durab Chia Lemute Mai. Why did Rav Chia say 24? What's he excluding? Seems like he's throwing in even the kitchen sink, right? So Lemute Mosar Umafagel. There are two things that he's excluding. A Mosar and a Mafagel. So a Mosar is someone who is malafed into the government, right? So you're clearly causing damage to someone. And a Mafagel this is kahuna related, where you have a bad machshava that passes the carbon, chutz mano, or chutz makomo, or something along those lines, and therefore you mess up the guy that, they brought the carbon, he's got to bring another carbon. So Velistni, so why didn't Rav write these? Bishlama mafagel, Bishlama, he didn't want to write mafagel because the kachim lo kamari. Maybe his entire list is things that are not related to kachim. Ella Moser my time. But what about Moser? That has nothing to do with kachim. That is a person going to the authorities and saying, this guy doesn't pay his taxes, go arrest him, right? So or whatever it is. So why isn't that included? So the Gemara says, my time below Tani, shiny Moser didibura, ubadibur lokmari. There's no Maisa. That is simply Dibur, and Dibur that he didn't want to include in his list. The Gemara says, "V'hamoti shemer Dibur Tani." What's the case of Moti shemer? That's a man getting married to a girl and saying Lo Matzati Dam Psulim, right? So that's Dibur. So why is that included in the list, right? The Gemara says that's Dibur de Espa Maisa. If you're going to do a Moti shemer, there had to be a Maisa Bia, so that you know that there wasn't Dam Psulim. So there has to be a Maisa, but as opposed to Mosar, which is no Maisa whatsoever. The Gemara says, what about Edom Zomerman? A guy walks in a bezin, says, I saw whatever I saw. There literally was no Maisa. That's the whole point of Edom Zomerman. I'm lying, right? What about Edom Zomerman? So the Gemara says,
that guy was with us.
Well, that meaning, but the person who is giving the Eidos originally,
right?
The guy doing the damage, right? That's how he gets caught. But the guy that the initial aid, that's what the Gemara is going to answer. Yeah. Right, the age checker, exactly. The age checker, right? Why that was just a Dibur without a Maisa, right? When I come into Bezdin and I say Eddie killed someone, Eddie owed someone money, whatever it is, then now you have to pay the money. You didn't actually owe the money, right? So the Gemara says, Afagav, the less ba Maisa, Rahmana Karya Maisa, like as you just said, them low. Okay. Bishlam Tana Didan Tana Avos Makaldi Katolos. Bishlam according to our Tana, there were only 4, and he used the Lashon Avos Mikladi Katolos. That was the first day and a half of our Masechta. El Rab Chia Rab Oshia Avos Makaldi Katolos. Are you really going to tell me that each one of these 24 things has Toldos? Right? What are all these Toldos? It will take us 20 blocks to work through what all these Toldos are. The Gemara says, or Toldos and mind you, what are these Toldos? Yeah, there are. So you're right. Technically, I guess, but that wouldn't have helped you because then you would say, the initial answer was it's Dibor, not a Maisa. You know what I mean? Okay. But either way,
we were talking about something that was a Maisa.
Yes. Either way, so the Gemara says, we know the toldos of the 4 avos in our Mishnah. What are the toldos of these additional 19 toldos that Rav Chia had, or 20, I guess? My math is wrong. So Amar Bavo, Kulan Avos, L'Shale Mimetav. They're not avos in the sense that they have toldos. They're avos in the sense that they all have to pay me metav. They all have to pay from the best of your lands. My time. Why? Asya tachas nisina yishalim or kesef. Because there's a very lengthy Rashi that goes into it. But the point is, all of the Dalid avos in our Mishnah all have either the word tachas nisina labdafka nisina. It could be like etain or something like that. But the lashon of tachas nisina yishalim or kesef. And if you work through, which Rashi does, all of the additional 20 of Rav Chia, each one of these cases has one of these lashonos, either tachas, yitain, or nesina, yishalim, or kesef, and therefore we learn through various gzerah that each one has to pay memetav ha aretz. Okay, so then the Mishnah said, if you just go back to our Mishnah real quick, arba avos nezikin, shar mava hever. Again, machlokas what mava is, but and then the Gemara said, the Mishnah said, lo harei shar, harei mave, lo harei mave, harei shar. The Mishnah went through and explained, why do I need all 4? Right, I can't learn one from the other. I can't learn, if I had 2, I can't learn the third, because these ones have a ruach chayim, these ones are alive. The other ones, even if you throw an eish, they move. Bar doesn't move. That was the Mishnah. So we're going to get into it a little bit now. Lo harei ashar harei mava, my comer. What's the Gemara in real time is like trying to understand what's the Mishnah, what's the point the Mishnah is trying to get at. So Amar of Zvid, Mishmei the Rabba Achli Kamar Lichter Rachmana Chada B'Teisi Dichmina. Why do I need both? Why do I need all 4? Just write one, and I'll know that anything that damages. But Hadar Amar Chada Mechada Lavasi. If I only had Shar, I wouldn't know Mave, because again, there's a quality that Mave has that Shar doesn't have, and vice versa. Below Zev is Zev. I think we're just seriously really elementary. I was actually thinking it's interesting because and this is just by chance, in 9th grade, I learned Baba Kama. Yeah, and same thing when my
away from 9th grade anyway.
Yeah, but the point is, I feel like so many of these Gemaras, like it's such a good thing to just happen to learn first, because I feel like there are so many of these things, especially the next stop, where you really learn about Lo Rai Zek or Rai Zeh, and things that like stick with you forever. You learn them right in the beginning. But I don't think there's much to this Gemara other than really understanding Pashat Shah in the Mishnah. What's the Mishnah talking about? It's saying, why not write one and I'll learn the other one? Okay. So below Zez Bezesh Yesh Behen Ruach Chai My Kamar, same thing. Amar Mishar Shemashmei the Rav Achli Kamar Lichtov Rachmana Tarti. Just write 2 of the categories, B'Teisi Idach Minayu, and then learn a third. Bahadar Amar Chada Mitarti Lo Asi. But then the Gemara said, the Mishnah said, you can't learn, right? Because these ones have Ruach Chaim and Eish doesn't have Ruach Chaim. These 3 move around and Bar doesn't move around, and therefore I need all 4. But it really just explaining really Pasha Pshat, what was the Mishnah talking about when the Mishnah said, why do I need the third? Why can't I just learn it out? But all of a sudden the Gemara doesn't. This is fascinating. Rava basically fact checks this Gemara in real time. And the Gemara says, Rava says, we'll speak it out outside first. Rava says, fine, if you want to go that order, right? Shar and Mave, I couldn't learn Aish because Shar and Mave, whatever Mave is, right, is alive. And so I couldn't learn Aish. Shar, Mave, and Aish, they all move. So therefore I couldn't learn Bar. So Rava says, just flip the order. What if I just did Karen and Bar? Then I can learn everything because Karen's alive, Bar doesn't move, right? You can kind of work at all the various permutations, and then you could. So everything that the Mishnah said is kind of wrong. You just got to flip the order, and then you could learn all the other things from Karen and Bar. I think it's Kedai. We'll read it inside, then we'll read a little bit of this really lengthy Rashi, which worked through all the permutations. I just think we need the first thing to kind of get this, and it's a short block. But let's just read this inside real quick. So Amarava, the Kuluhu, Tishadis Bar Beinayu, Asya Kulu B'Ma'atzad, the Bar Mi Karen. With the exception of Karen, which we'll discuss, as long as you just had Bar and one other one, you could learn all the other ones through a Ma'atzad. So let's say you had Karen and Bar, you could learn Shane, you could learn Regel, you could learn Aish. So I think it's Kedai. Let's look at this the Rashi, the Kulu Kishadis Bar Beinayu Asya. Let's just read a few lines of that, and then that's basically the rest of the Rashi, just does it a few times. But ikas of Bar v'chad mahanach, if you just had Bar and one of the other ones, Asya Kuluhu me'ahu me'idach patzad hashav. So the ikas of Bar v'Karen, let's work with those 2. If the Mishnah just said Bar and Karen, Asya Shane minayu, I could learn Shane from Bar and Karen. Hachi Ma bar she'ein darko leilach lahazik chayiv. If bar, which is stationary, and still you're chayiv, so shein she'darko leilach lahazik l'kol sheken. So shein, which moves around, that's even more so of a reason where you should have an obligation to wash your animal. But you would say ma'ala bar she'kein tchilas hasiyaso omei lenezek. Bar as a chumrah, where from the get-go, the second you dig it, it's already something which is omed lenezek. Tomar b'shein. That's not true by a shein. But the Gemara says, Rashi says, Karen yochiach. But you would have Karen. Ma Karen shkein kavanas lahazik. Karen has its own chumrah, and that it has kavana to do damage, which shein doesn't have. Bar yochiach. Bar doesn't have any kavana. Bar is not alive. B'chazar adin hatzad hasheva shaben shedarkan lahazik l'moncho shmas melecha. Blah blah blah. The point is, you could do that all. So the fact that the Mishnah said, I need all four, and it tried to say, Rava says, I don't think it's true. All you needed was Karen and Bar, and I can learn all the other ones. But back in the Gemara, he says, happens to be you couldn't learn Karen, because Karen does have a unique hula that none of the other ones do. Why? All the other ones are muad right away. Karen, the first time it gores is a short tam. Right, so if I was trying to learn Karen from, say, Bar and Shane, I would say Ma'ala Bar, that's Muad Mitchilasan, Tomar Karen Shatam Mitchilasan, and you can't say Shane Dokia, because Shane is also Muad Mitchilasan. So all Rav is saying is, I'm disagreeing with the Mishnah right now, meaning I don't think that's shot in the Mishnah, because the bottom line is, if you just had Bar and Karen, I can learn everything else. And he says, and by the way, Ulamanda Amar Adaraba, Karen Adifa Shkavanas on Lahazik, Apilu Karen Nami Asya, and he says, you know what, there's even Amanda Amar that says that notwithstanding the fact that Karen has this kula, that it's a short time, Karen has a chumrah, and that's Kavanas on Lahazik, and that chumrah overrides its kula, and according to that Amanda Amar, even if I just had Bar and Shane, I could learn Karen, Mikava Chomer, because Karen has Kavanah to do damage, Kava Chomer, you should have to watch it. But again, the point is, why is the Mishnah making it sound like I need all four? I don't need all four. I could just have two. I could have Bar and Karen. I could learn everything else. So the Gemara says, so why did the Torah need to write all four? It's because to teach us, the Torah needed to write each one of these things to teach us a particular prat in each one. So we'll go through each one. Karen, l'chalak ben tama l'muedes. Shein v'regel, l'pochim b'shus harabim. Shein v'regel has a special, unique quality, and that it's only chayiv reshus hanizik. It's potter b'shus harabim. Bar, why do I need bar? Liftar bo es ha'kelim. Right? The pasuk says, Shar o chamar, right? And the drasha is Shar v'lo adam, chamar v'lo kelim. So if a adam or a kelim are mazik in your bar, you are not chayiv. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda, the machayiv, let's get kelim. What about Rabbi Yehuda? He disagrees and he says that you're chayiv kelim in a bar. So liftar bo es adam, we said that was the other half of the drasha, that you're pater for adam. Adam, why did the Torah need to write adam? Why can't we just learn it out from the other ones? L'chayivo ba'arba dvarim. Because Irchaya, for in addition to Nezek, Tsari Poshavas and Boshes. Aish, why do I need Aish? Leftarbo Esataman. There's a special unique halacha in Aish that you're only chayiv that which you were able to know was going to be burned by your fire. But if you have valuable stuff that's buried in a haystack and you couldn't see it, you're not chayiv for that. So that's specific to Aish. Other things were like, I don't know, it's on you. I mean, don't damage things. But when it comes to Aish, you're only chayiv and that which is galui, not which is tamrul. Rabbi Yehuda dimachayiv and eskeit tamam be'Aish. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, who disagrees with that, and he says that you are chayiv if something's tamam lasuye mai. Why do we need Aish? Lasuye lichachanero b'sichsacha avanav. And the idea is, fire is unique in that even if it damages things which normally are not flammable, right? You're still chayiv. So that's already a chiddush, because sometimes you would think that, listen, you could only obligate me for things that I could have known about. But I'm going to watch my fire, but if all of a sudden starts burning stones, which it doesn't normally burn, I should be pater. Mash Malan, you are chayiv. Have a wonderful day, Randy.